Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN the Hub's fantasy football strategy show every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and I'm here as always with Kasey, Vlad to the Bone, Scheinvold, and Ross the Boss.
Cheers, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and welcome to Week 8, Kasey?
Week 8.
It is Week 8.
Week 8. It's almost halfway there. It's everything is going to plan. Not really. But
not for most people.
But there's a lot of news going on in NFL today and yesterday. I mean, let's just talk about it.
All right, we'll dive in about the news, but I do just want to highlight, when you're going into Week 8, you're actually more than halfway through most seasons in terms of the regular season. I mean, it's coming down to crunch time to get your playoff spot set, so make sure you're paying attention. We'll talk about the players to value right now. Trade deadline's coming up probably in about a month for most leagues, so
November 18th.
November 18th, usually. Okay, so let's talk big headlines. Ross, start us off. What do you think is one of the biggest headlines from this past week and heading into this week?
Well, Brock Montana, the Wonder Boy, not the past 2 weeks, on the airplane flying home, has headaches. He's on concussion protocol, which means he's not playing. No player this year has had concussion protocol and played the same week. It hasn't happened at all. So guess who gets the call? Kasey, Scheinfeld's favorite player from USC, Sammy Donald. He's coming back, baby, against the Bengals. It's going to be great. I can't wait till the Bengals just crush.
As a Bengals fan, he looks pretty excited about that. I mean, there have been some significant quarterback losses, and, especially in Superflex leagues, that makes a big difference. Yeah. Once you're through the buys, and if you're not in a Superflex league, losing a guy like even Deshaun Watson, not that big of a deal to the league as a whole. But you lose him in Superflex, and you lose Brock Montana and some other players like that.
Justin Fields.
It's starting
Anthony
to get
Richardson.
pretty thin.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones.
No, you're not missing much there.
So who do you want as a fill-in who's probably still on your wire? That's the question.
How about Sam Darnold?
Yeah. Okay, so what are you
expecting? I think well, how do I say this?
Oh my God, total loss for words.
Kyle Shanahan is going to have a chance to prove whether or not he just can create systems quarterbacks. I mean, it's an offense that gets the ball out quickly. With all due respect, the Bengals defense and their pass defense isn't that scary right now. I think he is probably a viable, quarterback fill-in this weekend for Brock Montana, as we like to call him. I don't think we're going to see a huge drop-off in production.
And Ross, how do you feel about Darnold? And where does he rank among potential subs that you'd bring in?
Darnold's. I mean, if it's a super flex league and he's one of the only guys available, I get it. I mean,
of course you grab
no choice. I mean, but let's talk a 10-man league, one quarterback. Some guys that I like this week. I like Riddler with Atlanta. That he's playing against Tennessee, who's very weak in defense.
You called him the Riddler.
That's what I do. I do call him the Riddler.
All right,
University of Cincinnati product, and he can't hold on to the ball. That's his problem. I mean, he fumbles. It's horrible.
That is a problem.
But if he can hold the ball and learn how to stick him or get gloves, that would help him a lot. But if you
could bring somebody else in to play quarterback for him and hold the ball for him. That also,
Atlanta's been winning. They've been doing okay. It's just True. He has not. His stats are fine. It's just he fumbles. That's the problem.
Well, let me ask a question about this.
But I do like him this week against Tennessee, and I think he'll be a top 10 quarterback this week. How about that?
All right, I like that.
Especially Tennessee. Bold. Tennessee's going with the 2 quarterback. I guess Tannehill is hurt, so Levis is going. And so is Malik Willis.
Yep. Yeah, they're going to share snaps.
I mean, that's like
the dumbest thing. Does that sound like something to
horrible?
Avoid?
They're just going to run the wishbone.
Horrible. I mean, what a horror. I mean, like saying to myself, Atlanta's going to destroy this
Derrick
team.
Henry's sitting there going, "Are you kidding me? Now there's going to be 11 players in the box."
Exactly.
You're right, Kasey Scheinfeld. So if I was Atlanta, I think they're going to just feast on Tennessee this weekend.
All right, I'm going to ask a question. This is Browns related, and my apologies for that. But Gardner Minshew had a big game against the Browns. The Browns somehow managed to win that, and especially was surprising that the refs actually gifted us a game. That has almost never happened. But
Oh, you're saying us.
I did say that. You know what?
I love it.
I just
He's
heard
back,
it.
baby.
I'll be back, guys. I'm going to leave. That's frightening. But really, what do we make of Minshew's performance? Do you like him as a super flex quarterback going forward? Obviously, you don't want to start him as your number one.
Yeah,
QB.
I like him as a super flex quarterback. I mean, look, he's got capable receivers in Josh Downs, who, by the way, I think is actually just breaking out as one of the top 3 or 4 wide receivers in this rookie class right now. And Pittman, who is at least reliable. And he's a gunslinger. Like, he's willing to throw it into tight windows. He's willing to take chances. You're going to have to live with an interception or 2, but
doesn't hurt you that much.
But their defense isn't great. They're going to be from behind. They're are they at Jackson? Yeah, they're Jacksonville this week, and they're or against Jacksonville, and they're underdogs. So I have a feeling he's going to put up decent numbers.
I thought it was New Orleans this week. Am I wrong about that? Yeah, it's New Orleans this week.
It's New Orleans. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett's against Jacksonville.
Oh, that's right. Kenny Pickett against Jacksonville.
So, yeah, I like Gardner Minshew. I love the stash. I love the persona. I think there's a guy that just puts everything out there on the field, and he'll run. He'll do anything it takes to win the game. I mean, this guy will sacrifice.
He's fun to watch. He's really fun to watch.
And yeah, I mean, a Super Flex League, yes, I would probably start him. I think he gets a start.
And then, of course, his facial hair makes him look like he's from the 1970s.
I love it.
And I brought this up last week. You have to remember, he was Shane Steichen was his offensive coordinator last year in Philadelphia. He came with him. So he's comfortable and knows the offense probably better than Anthony Richardson did. And so it's not like they're going to put handcuffs on him and cut the playbook down. I just think he can be effective.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're looking, let's say you're deciding between Gardner Minshew and let's say Jordan Love or something like that. I think
I'm not touching Love the way
I think you can easily go with Gardner Minshew in that.
Yeah, Love's on my do not start list. His stock is.
What about Minshew versus like Sam Howell against the Eagles?
You know,
I'm gonna go with Minshew probably.
The game they played in Philly and it went to overtime, right, Case, in the beginning of the season?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it went to overtime, and I just think I feel upset in that game. I think Howell's going to.
But I just saw Howell score only 1 touchdown against my Giants, for crying out loud.
I know, but I think Howell's going to be a big game against the Eagles, and your guy Hurts is hurt. See what I did there, Dr. Dan? Hurts is hurt.
I saw it.
He put his knee brace on in the game last, and he's not mobile right now. He's not. He has a limp.
He's. I mean,
limp. We'll see what happens. But
he's certainly saying he's going to play. I think you're right, though, Ross. He's probably not going to run as much, and that makes him less valuable at the moment.
How about that push he does? The push.
But to get back to your Browns, you know, I've been pushing this trade Derrick Henry narrative for a few weeks. I've always labeled the Cowboys. But salary cap wise, because I think I was reading somewhere, whatever team takes him, it's $6.3 million in cap that they would have to be free. You know, who's surprisingly 4-2, down a pretty dynamic running back and has $34 million in cap space right now is your Cleveland Browns.
Your Cleveland Browns.
They're one game out in the division.
I think it's a great move.
Would be a perfect fit for them because he's also a free agent, I believe, at the end of the season, or there's a way to make him.
You know what? They should trade for, and notice I say they, I'm back on it. They should trade for Derrick Henry and Tannehill. And I'm not saying Tannehill's great, but they just need a game manager with the defense that they have. I think it would.
I rather have PJ Walker than Tannehill, in all seriousness.
Yeah, I think you can
it's close.
I rather have PJ Walker. PJ Walker.
Actually, who they should trade for is go up to Detroit and get Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I rather have PJ Walker. I think PJ Walker is a good quarterback. I like him.
Listen, as long as he can manage a game, that's really all they need.
Well, he's been doing a nice job.
He has.
Albert, good afternoon.
It is good to see you. Good afternoon
as always,
to you, sir. Ask us any questions or bring your observations. We want to hear from you. Okay. We talked about headlines. We only started getting into it. We talked about Brock Montana, as we call him here. Ross insists that we do, so we don't say anything else. He has no other last name. But what were the other major headlines from last week? I'm going to bring up just one, and then I'll throw it back to you guys. And I don't know how much this is a major headline going forward, but Deontay Foreman, running back of the Bears, he was a monster.
33 fantasy points.
He won. He propelled people to victory in a lot of leagues, and he's the kind of player that I don't really understand what's going on in the NFL. He always does this. Every time he gets the ball, this is what happens, and he's just not getting the opportunities all the time. My question to you is, going forward in that murky Bears backfield, who's your top value? of those three guys?
In a redraft, right now, it's got to be Deontay Foreman. I think in any other format, it's Roshan Johnson. And of course, once Khalil Herbert comes back, he was doing well. I don't see how you don't give him the chance.
Yeah. I'm glad that I have him in some leagues. He's an explosive player coming off the bench. We've got a question coming in.
It's not a question.
Oh, it's a statement. It starts with bruh, so it's definitely a statement. Bruh, someone in one of my 16-man leagues traded C-Mac for Derrick Henry, Judy, and Jonnu. And then this emoji.
Yeah, I would.
And I've got I'm with you, Josh. That's a facepalm.
You are betting hard that Judy is going to somehow resemble who they thought he was going to be when they drafted him 3 years ago.
Well, he's not going to be in Denver. I mean, his days in Denver are limited.
I think his days in the NFL could be limited if he keeps it up the way he's going.
Whoever did that trade,
that's quite bad.
Yeah.
At least they're getting Derrick Henry back, but for C-Mac, you should do so much more. Josh, you have that read well. Meanwhile, this is a 16 team league. I'm wondering how that affects things. That to me, it doesn't make it any better. It's still just atrocious. Josh then adds, they also have Kamara, so now their running back core is great.
So they have Kamara and C-Mac.
Yeah.
Well, the advantage for you, Josh, is there's also a 50% chance that come the playoffs, neither of them will be healthy.
Well said. All right, let's go back to headlines. What else happened this week or headed into this week that's a big deal in your mind?
Well, I mean, the other big things is San Francisco lost 2 games in a row, which is huge news. Everybody had them in the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago, Kasey Scheinfeld included. The Eagles, I just said that case.
I was going to say, I don't think he did.
I just threw him out there.
We did have them going far.
Of course, but now the Eagles, I think, are the class of the NFC, and it's amazing how like 2 weeks happen and boom, you're no longer Super Bowl. No one's talking about Super Bowl anymore with the 49ers. There's no more Super Bowl talks. I haven't heard anybody bring it up once this week.
Do you think that's the end of it? Or do you think that when Brock Montana comes back and they start putting things together again,
they have a good team, Case. I mean, I think they have a good team.
Like their name.
I just don't think
it is a beautiful name.
I just don't think that they're favorites anymore in NFC. I think Detroit and the Eagles are.
Well, Detroit
I always felt like the Eagles were
Baltimore.
Anyway. They did. We have to talk about that in a second. Let's get a comment here from Fat Single Mom. Okay. C-Mac for Hawkinson and A.J. Brown. 12-man PPR. My tight end is Logan Thomas.
Ooh. So you'd be giving up C-Mac? No. No.
For Hawkinson and A.J. Yes, I think he
would be. He'll be upgrading in Hawkinson, obviously, with Logan Thomas. But then A.J. Brown and C-Mac.
I think you want a cheaper solution at tight end.
The thing about C-Mac is this, guys. Every week he has a touchdown. I mean, every week.
Yeah,
at least one.
Every week this year, he's had a touchdown. He may get a week touchdown every.
Unless your other running backs are like elite, also. Unless you have 2 other elite running backs, you can't even sniff that trade. I don't.
Yeah. I think C-Mac's somebody you just hold on to. I think he can lead you the whole league if you keep him.
I totally agree. I think in a vacuum, you're getting decent enough value there, but it's not something that you would likely want to do.
No.
Okay, Josh says, would you trade Carr, Kittle, and Jameson Williams for Andrews and Zach Wilson?
20-man PPR. Holy cow.
20-man PPR.
I love that. So Carr, Kittle, who's for Zach? In your quarterback would be Zach Wilson every week?
I don't think I would do that.
He has Russ Wilson also.
Oof. Okay, is Russ, JT, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, Christian Kirk, Kittle, and Kirk. I don't really see the value in this deal for you.
Look, Mark Andrews.
That's the thing.
A healthy Mark Andrews is absolutely an upgrade over Kittle. But both of them are injury prone. But that's not worth giving up.
Especially in a 20-man league, to go from Carr to Zach Wilson.
Well, he also has Russell Wilson. He's dealt with the Wilson brothers.
That's true.
So you have the
don't deal brothers. For Owen Wilson or Luke Wilson.
Or Luke. Yeah.
Or Willie Wilson.
You know what? I wouldn't do that deal. I would keep Carr and Kittle.
Nelson Mandela. We can.
We're Nelson from the Simpsons. We're really
the Nelson twins for the
nothing. I mean, Jameson Wilson is zero value fantasy.
Yeah, I think.
Look, I don't think it moves the needle in either direction, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I also just think like to move from Kittle to Andrews, I think you're giving up more than you need to do that. That's what I would say. I would prefer the side where you just keep Carr, Kittle, and Jameson Williams. Okay. Fat Single Mom says C-Mac for Hockenson and AJ Brown. We did already answer that. Okay,
Yep,
let's
say it again.
Let's answer it again though.
Okay. I say no. I don't think you can trade. I don't think you can get fair value back for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Hockenson is probably the number 2 or 3 tight end in football. AJ Brown is a top 6 or 7 wide receiver, but you don't give up far and away the top running back. That's like, Tyreek Hill is far and away the best wide receiver right now. You don't give him up for anything.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about C-Mac.
And I think the drop off so big at tight end that you're better off just finding a cheaper solution than that. I would say you're going to take a tight end hit almost no matter what you do, unless you make a deal like this. But I wouldn't do it for C-Mac. See if you can get Hockenson and a lesser receiver for a lesser running back. Much better deal.
Or Hockenson straight up for a lesser running back, and don't worry about AJ Brown.
Yeah, I agree. But I think C-Mac, there's a couple players who are league winners. And by the way, I'm just going to freely admit this. I was wrong on C-Mac. I thought he was too injury prone and wasn't going to last. And I predicted at one point he had 10 NFL games left. He has since played in like 21 or something like that. So I'm completely wrong about that. And see, the fact that I admit it means that you may be able to trust it.
That's the first step of your program. I understand.
That's right. Always admit when you got it wrong. Albert Mariquin says Calvin Ridley, George Pickens, Nico Collins, pick 2, full PPR. I'm just going to say George Pickens is an automatic yes to me right now.
Okay. Pickens and Collins.
Quite good. So you're thinking sit Ridley.
Yeah, just because Jacksonville hasn't figured out how to get him involved again since week 1.
And the DBs for Tennessee and Kasey are so bad.
I'm still going to go Ridley.
They're so bad.
Pittsburgh's not playing Tennessee. Pittsburgh's playing Jacksonville.
But Ridley is going against Ridley plays for Atlanta.
No,
right? No, he plays for
Jacksonville.
Right, he used to play. Right,
he's going against T.J. Watt.
Right.
It's true, I agree with
you. Pickens and Collins, I agree with. Ridley's been invisible the past 2 weeks. Horrible.
I just have such a hard time sitting Ridley because he's got more upside. But Pickens is the automatic start for me in that group. How is Collins done?
Nico Collins has been awesome.
He's been great, and he has an easy game this week. They play Carolina.
And it's Nico Collins. I mean, I agree with you.
They play Carolina, and that game's going to be high scoring for sure.
I'm going to check.
And it's the battle of the top 2 draft pick quarterbacks, so they're going to try to prove who got the better player.
Ooh, yes, that's going to
be. And they'll be because both teams won't make the playoffs. They'll be going like 4th down. They'll be going for it.
Now, listen, I just not to cool off the Nico Collins talk too much, but Nico Collins had 2 great games. He had 2 complete duds, and he had 2 medium ones. So he is hit or miss.
Yeah, is Tank Dell back?
Coming off a bye, I have not. He's questionable. I looked at it, but.
Because Tank Dell takes some targets away, but
remember he's just coming off a bye.
He was a full practice participant, so Tank Dell is going to be back.
I still like him better than Calvin Ridley. The way Ridley's been used in Jacksonville,
I agree.
I agree, but it's close. Okay, Fat Single Mom has a follow-up question about Hockenson. So should I trade Kenneth Walker for Hockenson? I still wouldn't do that either.
I think you do Kenneth Walker for Hockenson and AJ Brown. Honestly, Kenneth Walker has been a top 3 running back this year, or top 4. Like
that's amazing, though. That this
Charbonnet has gotten 0.
This is a fantasy team with C-Mac and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I'm just
thinking you don't worry about
happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless you're wide receivers, who are your wide receivers?
Yeah, wait, hold on. Let's see. Did he list that? I didn't see that. Okay. No. When you have that strong running backs, especially now. You guys know how hard it is to get your hands on a true bell cow running back. Kenneth Walker's running like one. They're not. Charbonnet's barely involved. He was, of course, out last week entirely, but he's not very involved.
Now Walker's questionable right now with a calf, but he's still limited in practice, so he's probably going to play. But if they give him a couple weeks off, rest him, have him for the playoff run. Be happy.
I think if you've got C-Mac and Kenneth Walker, you're in very good shape. You did a very good job, and you should sit with that. You try to get Hockenson a different way.
Be happy with Logan Thomas. Sam Howell likes his tight end.
Right. All right, let's jump back to other big headlines from last week that you think are worth noting. Anything that impacts things, especially from a fantasy perspective. There is another comment coming in. So why don't you guys think about what you're going to say about that? But Fat Single Mom says my wide receivers: CeeDee Lamb, Wilson.
Is that Garrett Wilson or
I'm assuming that's Garrett Wilson, but
or Mr. Wilson from
Mike
from
Wilson.
Dennis the
Who's the
Mills,
one in-
Dennis the Menace.
or Wilson Phillips. No, it's definitely
Wilson
not
Phillips.
that.
Okay.
And Palmer flex, and flex is Gibbs. I like the flex.
Jahmyr Gibbs or
Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees.
Joe
Of
Gibbs.
course, Jahmyr Gibbs.
well, I thought maybe it was Coach Gibbs. Man,
Also
I
has,
would try to. I
has
would
D-Hop on the bench, but he ain't.
He
worth
should
it.
be on the bench. He's
He's worth more than you think if they find him.
Yeah, but these two quarterbacks that are starting this week for Tennessee,
CeeDee Lamb,
it's just bad.
is that Garrett Wilson?
That
I would say
assuming
it's
that's
Garrett Wilson. I don't think it's Michael Wilson.
Yeah. Well, let's assume it's Garrett Wilson.
Or
Let's go
Cedric
with that.
Wilson.
So I think the question then is, all right, well, is it worth dealing somebody to try to upgrade Hawkinson?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'd probably want to move Garrett Wilson in a Hawkinson deal myself.
See, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if it's Garrett Wilson, I would maybe try to trade him. I might trade Gibbs and try to get an upgraded tight end.
You could probably trade Gibbs for Hawkinson and something else. And
or Gibbs and something small, like Gibbs and Logan Thomas for Hawkinson if you had to. Like, I would rather do that than.
Well, I think if you trade Gibbs for Hawkinson, you might be able to get something back even for.
I think
it
so.
would be
It's
small.
Gibbs. It's a good week to trade Gibbs.
Yeah,
because Montgomery is hurt.
Right.
Yeah, and Gibbs looked quite good.
Yes.
Now, and meanwhile, the Lions. Let's talk about. Speaking of headlines, Kasey, you mentioned this. The Lions got absolutely waxed against the Ravens. What happened, and how do we interpret this going forward? And let's talk fantasy, but let's also talk from an NFL perspective. The Lions were looking like, one of the class teams in the NFC. Then that happens.
Yeah, but look, I don't read too much into it for season long because every team lays an egg once in a while.
And when game script gets away, it can happen.
I mean, it was on the road at Baltimore, which is not an easy game. And when you get behind the 8 ball against Baltimore, you're just going to get blitzed incredibly. But so I don't read too much into it for season long or for fantasy for that matter, because we've always known, and the statistics have been pretty consistent, that Jared Goff is not the same quarterback on the road that he is at home. They're at home this week against the Raiders. It's about as good of a matchup.
Monday Night Football
on Monday night
in Detroit.
So, what you might want to do, Fat Single Mom, is Tuesday trade Gibbs, because I have a feeling he could go hog wild on Monday night. And assuming nobody gets hurt of your other running backs, you can probably sell him at a high point right then.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, I wanted to ask about a couple players who I want to know if these are fake numbers or not. So Amari DiMercato, the
Fake.
Arizona running back. Okay, why is it fake? 13 attempts, 58 rushing yards, 4 receptions, 17 yards. Why is it fake, Case?
Well, I don't know if it's just there's nothing that moves the needle about him. I mean, he was undrafted for a reason, right? Keontae Ingram was going to be the starter or is supposed to be the starter. And we all know that James Conner is going to take right back over as soon as he gets back. Mercado, look, what was it? So that's like 4.5 yards per attempt and 4 receptions. So yeah, it's a nice 12-point game.
But one of the things you need to look out for is how much of that was like on one run. I don't know in his case, but I was looking at Jerome Ford's numbers.
He started the game with a 68-yard touchdown run.
Right, and he finished with 74 yards on 11 attempts.
And got hurt.
And remember, guys, Arizona the past 2 weeks has scored 0 points in the second half. I mean, they're horrible. They really are.
I'm avoiding
horrible.
Arizona's
Does Kyler Murray? It looks like Kyler Murray's probably returning this week.
Is he coming back this week?
No, they're thinking week 10 because I think they have a bye next week. They want to give him 2 weeks of practice and then start him after the bye. Is what I read.
We'll see what happens.
Look, I don't. The guy averaged 19 fantasy points per game in his first 2 seasons. So
how about this in terms of real numbers? Gus Edwards, 14 rushing attempts, 64 yards, a touchdown. He had one reception for 80 yards. We know that that's not going to happen again. But
Yeah.
are the rushing numbers something you'd expect
Gus
to
the
continue?
Bus has always produced when he's been given a chance. Baltimore loves that power run game, and he's Gus the Bus for a reason. He likes to run downhill as quick as possible.
Yeah.
There's no real Justice Hill isn't going to be competition for the first 2 downs. He's more competition on the 3rd down. They have that kid Mitchell who's hurt, but they really like him. Kadavion, I forget what his name is. It starts with a K. And he's supposed to be really dynamic and explosive, but he's hurt right now. So I think Gus the Bus is the real deal. I think Baltimore showed last week that they're starting to put it all together. And they're probably
they always do.
And they're probably going to be a threat going forward. So I like Gus at this point.
All right, let's do a Najee Harris check-in. Oh, we actually have a comment coming in. Hold on,
Najee Harris check-in.
Najee Harris check-in coming up. But first, we're going to get a comment or question from Luke Ormsby.
Luke, I'm your father.
Luke, he's not your father, and you know that. Traded D. Henry and Curtis Samuel for D. Hopkins and James Conner. All right.
Recently? Because that one looks like it hurts.
When's Conner coming back?
The question is when did this happen? If he just did it now and Conner's on his way back, maybe
not bad.
I don't like losing Henry myself.
I don't like, honestly, Curtis Samuel has been pretty darn good, except with the exception of last week for the Redskins.
I mean, you could look at it.
I love that.
You could look at it.
Put $5 in the jar.
Yeah, you could look at it that Henry and Samuel are actually the two better players in the deal at their positions. I would rather be on the Henry and Samuel part of that deal.
Yeah, so would I.
I respect Derrick Henry still.
I've been wrong on plenty of trades, so don't take our word for it, Luke. If it makes you feel like your team is better, then you made the right trade.
I mean, here's the other thing. You know your team, and maybe you've been paying more attention to particular players. Maybe you're seeing something that the rest of us are not. Go with your gut. James Conner is a good running back. DeAndre Hopkins should be a better receiver than Curtis Samuel, so you could win that deal. But
the problem is who's throwing it to him.
Yeah, now with Tannehill.
Well, and then the other problem is Connor's injury, and when is he coming back, and will he be the same?
I can look that up.
All right, look that up while we're
and then, guys, I got breaking news. Starting November 11th, Taylor Swift is on her international tour. She would not be available for Kansas City home games. So there goes the season for Kansas City. Taylor Swift's out of town, out of the country.
We all know that Travis Kelce has not been putting up numbers without Taylor Swift.
Yeah, so if you have Travis Kelce, trade him now.
All right, how about this for value going up? We know we just said Jerome Ford is going to be out. He's doubtful for this week.
He's doubtful this week. Yeah,
he's going to be out for a while. Kareem Hunt, what do you expect his value to be over the next couple of weeks?
Well, he's questionable this week. He'll play.
If he plays, I think his value's high.
I like Kareem Hunt when he's healthy and he gets the ball. I mean, he's 70, 80 yards and a touchdown every week, I would say. Case, would you argue with me?
And it's a really good run.
And he's behind a great offensive line.
I think it's the best in the league. In all seriousness,
it's pretty crazy that
Detroit's up there, but
but it's pretty crazy that the Browns could have one of the best defenses and one of the best offensive lines.
It is crazy, and a good friend of mine actually left being a Brown fan and became a Bills fan. What an idiot.
Just lost to the Patriots.
I also we all know I'm an idiot when it comes to football, but at the same time, I have not decided to become a Bills fan. I
just see it. I see it in the background. That's all.
I'm not going to do that to the Bills population. I like Buffalo.
They played tonight against Tampa Bay. They're 9-point favorites.
They should win that. They better win it. That lost to the Patriots. Still,
that was great.
All right, Luke Ormsby then says, sounding very likely that D-Hop will be traded to the Chiefs. Now, in some ways, that could be an upgrade, but the Chiefs have been kind of a suck of value when it comes to wide receivers.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They don't have an alpha, but I don't know how.
I just don't know how much he has left.
I haven't read that, and if you're right, that's great. I don't see how they can absorb the salary given the Chiefs cap situation. That would take some creative trading.
To me, that trade it mostly depends on James Conner and his health, though, because
Conner can't come back until week 10.
And if he does come back strong and then D-Hop proves to be a value, you'll win that trade. I just think you assumed more of the risk in that deal, and that's fair. That's something I tried out.
Another headline for especially fantasy, big news, big, is Bijan Robinson.
Oh yes, this was big for a lot of teams.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still like, I don't know if he was hurt, he was sick. I don't know.
They said he wasn't feeling well.
I know, but I mean, Kasey doesn't feel well and he goes to work. I mean, right? I mean,
my job's a little less demanding.
Okay, let's not belittle your job right now. So I know he played. Honest. He was suited up. I mean, was it his decision not to play? The coaches, they still won the game.
Well, did you hear they're investigating?
But fantasy wise,
the NFL's investigating.
It's a disaster. You know, people started this guy, and he was like in fantasy, daily fantasy players got destroyed by him.
Well, the gamblers too.
1 carry for 3 yards. And the NFL is investigating. What does this mean, though?
Yeah, but if I'm a coach,
they're saying they lied about the injury designation until it was last minute to prevent the other team from appropriately.
I see. From knowing that he was going to be out.
You know what probably happened, guys? He probably got the handoff, and he probably shies his pants, and he probably was out for the game. I mean,
he pulled a Paul Pierce. Did they
yes, I like that's a great reference. I love that reference. We'll talk NBA soon. Kasey loves talking NBA.
I'm out.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, we're kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. Don't leave.
He actually got out of the league.
I know.
I paid somebody to take my spot.
He actually did.
He did.
All right. Keep going
but yeah, John, that's a big story just because you know, people play these over-unders and all that stuff. And
look, the injury designations, I was listening to somebody, and I don't know if it's true or not, but he sounded pretty confident. The injury designations were literally created for sports betting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like however many years ago, so that the sports books could set the appropriate line and the gamblers would be informed in who they're betting on. And so, I mean, imagine if you had bet Atlanta because Bijan was supposed to be playing.
Now imagine being a head coach and deciding that, you know, you've got to report this so that some gamblers will be happy. That's kind of hilarious, actually. All right. Sports Spotlight has a question. Hi, I was wondering, would you trade away Josh Allen, Christian Kirk, and Kittle
for who?
For Dak, Olave, and Laporta in a PPR league?
Okay.
And you're 4-3. Okay. So you'd be trading away Josh Allen, Christian Kirk, and Kittle.
I wouldn't trade away Josh Allen and Kirk. Kirk has been awesome the past few weeks, and he's been a great slot receiver. Texas A&M product. He's unbelievable. I'd rather have Kittle and Laporta. I guess you could about the same. Kasey, would you?
I think they're at least similar value.
You're trading away the best player in the deal. I never want to be involved in a trade where I'm trading away the best player in the deal unless I'm getting overpaid.
I totally agree
and
with
Olave
that.
Can't drive a car.
See, that's the thing. I'm gonna add this. You're looking to make up gains from losing Josh Allen primarily at Christian Kirk versus Olave. And Olave hasn't been that good this year, honestly. No, certainly not from a fantasy perspective.
And Dak has been terrible this year.
So it's just
I said think, average, but terrible. That's great.
I think you should keep Josh Allen, keep Allen, Kirk, and Kittle.
So you're doing.
I'd rather have. How about this Sports Spotlight? I'd rather have all three of your players than any of the three players that you're getting.
Ideally, I think
basically true.
I think what he's looking at is on paper, Olave is an upgrade over Kirk.
Not this year, baby. Not this year.
So. I don't think Derek Carr can get it to him.
Now, what if it's CeeDee Lamb instead of Olave? That moves the needle a lot more for me at this point, but I still would.
Well, that's two Cowboys on your team. I don't
have you seen? Look, I own CeeDee Lamb.
I like the two Cowboys. I like the. I mean, I don't necessarily like two Cowboys, but I like.
But CeeDee Lamb's stats. He had 2 big games. That's it, and he only has 1 touchdown on the season. It's true. I still like CeeDee Lamb more than Olave. We all know it moves the needle more, but I still wouldn't do it.
It's the last season of the Cowboys quarterback. Of course, the coach. He's not going to be there anymore. He's gone.
I can't believe he's still there now.
McCarthy. I mean, he's gone. And then I'd rather have Josh Allen. Josh Allen can win you the league. Dak can't win you the league. Dak does not have it in him.
CeeDee Lamb has had 4 weeks this year with only 4 receptions in each week.
And Kyler Murray is officially off the injury list. No more injury list. I just read it. So there you go.
So does that mean he is back this
I don't know.
Week?
Look,
I don't know how that. I don't know what list is he on PUP? Is he? I don't know what's going on with him. No idea.
Okay, now look.
Don't start him if he's playing.
Sports Spotlight says he wants Allen so bad. When somebody wants it that
make
bad,
him overpay like crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dak's not going to win you the league, so don't have Dak as your starting quarterback.
You should ask for Dak, Olave, and Laporta for Josh Allen. I'm not saying you should do it, but that's the value you should be looking for. If you're doing 3 for 3 and you're giving up a solid number 2 wide receiver and a solid tight end 1, you're losing.
Let's play Ross. Who would you start? CJ Stroud or Dak? Go.
CJ Stroud.
Thank you, Case. Dr. Dan Ratner?
Oh, I said Stroud. I was like, why didn't you thank me? I said it too.
I don't know, because I didn't hear you say Stroud. I just said Casey.
I'm louder.
I heard you.
I didn't hear you. But that shows you where Dak goes on the chart. I mean, no one wants Dak Prescott, and you should have won him. So don't get him.
I'm just gonna, pat my own back. I told everybody that from the preseason when Kellen Moore left. And went to San Diego and went to the Chargers.
You said San Diego, another $5 in the jar. Yes.
You're going to want Justin Herbert a heck of a lot more than Dak Prescott because Mike McCarthy is not a good play caller.
Well, at least he didn't say Dan Fouts.
I love Kellen Winslow.
I nearly said Phillip Rivers.
I miss those days. I love all those guys.
Oh yes,
Drew Brees. If you want to go real old.
All right, here's another. Oh my God. Here's another question about whether these numbers are for real. I think they're at least partially for real. But Jordan Addison had a total breakout week. Obviously, Justin Jefferson not being there is a part of it. But you love to see a player as talented as Jordan Addison break out. Is he just going to fully break out for the rest of the season?
Yes.
Until Jefferson comes back, and then Jefferson's going to be the main man. But
see, I think though he's broken out to the extent that he's kind of figured it out, so that even when Jefferson comes back, I think Addison is the real deal.
Got to remember, Addison was the #1 wide receiver as his junior year. Then he transferred to SC, and he still had a great year. Not like he'd had a Pitt the year before, but didn't matter. But Addison is a very good wide receiver.
Look,
I mean, this guy is high
if
class.
you can get him in any keeper dynasty league, go after him.
Is an above average quarterback for your wide receivers, and he throws the ball 45 times a game.
Yep.
If 20 targets go to Justin Jefferson and 15 targets go to
KJ Osborne,
there's still 10 more targets that need to go. If he gets 10 targets for 7 receptions every week, he's a solid top 10 wide receiver or top 12 wide receiver.
I think he's going to be great going forward. We got a couple questions coming in. Okay, Jacob Anders says, Guy just offered me T-Law.
Yeah.
I fought T-Law and T-Law won. Ridley, Henry, and Debo for Tua, Flowers, and Mixon. Thoughts on this in PPR?
Who's his quarterback?
Well, Trevor Lawrence would be his quarterback.
He has Tua right now.
He has Tua.
Flowers,
so he has Tua. He's trading away Tua.
Correct.
He would be trading away. I don't like
with Zay Flowers and Joe Mixon.
I don't
like Debo at all. Debo to me is almost worthless in fantasy. That's me. Ridley's been invisible. I mean, no, I'd rather have Tua. What's he doing?
Yeah,
no.
I would rather just.
I like Zay Flowers too. What are you doing?
Are we 3 for 3?
I think we are. I wouldn't. Again, you're trading away. Tua is the best quarterback in, arguably the best quarterback in fantasy right now because he has such a dynamic offense.
For a second,
Trevor Lawrence has not ascended the way we thought he would.
Yeah, definitely not. For a second, Ross's screen froze, and he was just like this. And it looked clear that, at least it looked that way on mine. Okay.
But Trevor Lawrence has been just mediocre at best this year. Sorry.
Yeah. Remember in our draft when I decided, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert are basically the same quarterback. They're not.
Whoops.
Another mistake. All right. Joshua Chong, Limasa, good to see you here. Eckler, Kamara, Gibbs, Mostert, Cooper, Kupp. Oh, wait, what are we reading here? This is just the list of team. Choose 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex. Okay.
Kupp and Adams, right? I mean,
I'm taking Cooper, Kupp, and Adam Thielen.
Cooper, Kupp, and
I'm taking Thielen as the flex. How about that, Casey Scheinfold? You're taking Adams, right? I mean, and you're taking Kupp as your starting 2 regular receivers.
I think you got to play Adams.
And then your 2 running backs. Mozart's a beast.
TAE. What am I missing about TAE?
And Eckler. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, what is TAE? Do we see that?
Is this a 4-man league or 2-man league you're in?
This 4-man league or 2-man
See, I would
league.
go. Here's what I would go. I would go Eckler, Kamara as my running backs, Kupp and Thielen as my wide receivers, and Gibbs in my flex.
Oh, I'm not Mozart.
Is it Mostert hurt?
No, he's not hurt.
Is he back this week? Because he's missed the last couple.
Yeah, he's back. The other guy's hurt. The guy from A&M.
Well, he was a limited.
Mozart is back.
He was a limited participant.
They're playing the Patriots. You start Mozart and you start
I think
Eckler.
But I'll tell you what. I mean, this is a monster team you've got there, Joshua.
Is it 4-man league?
That's why Ross said, "Is it 4 or 2?" Because your team is that good. That's
you got to start Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen's been a monster in fantasy this year.
I think Adam Thielen and Cooper Kupp have to be started.
And I think,
here's what he's leaning towards: Eckler, Gibbs, Kamara, Cooper Kupp, and Adam Thielen. There you go.
If
Mostart is a full go, I'm starting him over Kamara. But the rest, I'm not changing.
Kamara is slow and fat. I don't want that guy.
I agree with starting Mostert over Kamara, but I probably would do it anyway, regardless. Okay, Harlan Wakes back says, should I trade Amon-Ra and Rashad White for Kamara and Pittman? Here comes Kamara.
No. Pittman's worthless, and Kamara's fat and lazy. No.
All right, my running backs
is a top 5 wide receiver.
I love Armand. I mean, come on. He plays on a dynamic offense. The guy gets the ball all the time, and there you go. You don't trade him away for Pittman.
Amon-Ra. I want him on my team for sure.
Yeah.
Jacob Anders says, I also have Kyler on IR, so let's jump back up. This is the question about trading
Tua and Tua.
Right. So
I still want Tua.
Okay.
Still want
Kyler is not worth anything. I mean, he hasn't played it down in years.
He's telling you to chill, Ross.
Jacob said, I'm not doing anything. I'm telling you an offer I received. That's totally fair.
RELAX.
Got my blood pressure up.
Aaron Rodgers.
And listen, we're going to get all kinds of offers. Some of them are going to be junk. I mean, what percentage of offers do you guys get that are really not to your liking?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
most of them are not to your liking.
Yeah. I would say probably 80%.
Okay, now this is not
overvalues their players and undervalues everybody else's.
Ross, this is not a 4-man or a 2-man league. It's a 10-man league. But Joshua, please know when Ross makes that joke, it's because he likes your team.
It's a compliment.
It's 100%. It's a compliment.
100% compliment.
It's not a dish on you at all, obviously, because I think you're in a league where you got all the good players.
All right. Joshua then says, I got Cooper Kupp and Kamara on discount because of injury and suspension. Very, very smart. This is how you got where you are. This is why you look like you're playing in a 4-man league. And it's amazing how many times you can do that. Sometimes in drafts, you can pick up players that are injured that nobody believes in. Just ask Kasey and Ross. When we come out of a baseball draft, I usually have 7 injured pitchers.
Yeah,
but that doesn't work out so well.
Dan is not famous for having pitchers who aren't going to be able to come off the injured list until June.
Yes. I mean, it is keeper leagues. But,
I took John Moran in our basketball league, even though he's suspended for 25 games.
Right. I know. He wins the Kyrie Irving Award. Is he going to play or not? Okay. Kamara's playing Indy. So that's another reason to think of playing him for sure. I still would start Mostert if it were me. Spencer Graves says White versus the Bills or Henderson versus the Cowboys.
Sounds like a racial thing. White versus the Bills.
The Rams against the
Cowboys. So White, let me just give you the narrative on the Bills game. I'll give you the narrative how the game's going to go because that means a lot in fantasy. The Bills will get the lead to start, and then they'll stop handing the ball off to White, and he'll be receiving the ball as a receiver, but his takes as a running back won't be that high. So I'd rather in Henderson.
Remember though, PPR thoughts. Just make sure you keep that in mind.
That's what I said. So White will get the ball receiving. I don't see that many handoffs. So Henderson, this is what I have a question for you guys. That I don't have an answer. Maybe Kasey can help me. Henderson on Sunday he had a touchdown and 60 yards, correct? Or something like that.
Yeah.
He had a touchdown. So on Monday they dropped him to the practice squad.
Right.
Why would you put him in the practice squad on Monday and not keep him on the regular team? Is it not going to play him? Is Freeman going to start or somebody else?
I think Henderson's still going to get the run. My fear with Tampa Bay is I think Keyshawn Vaughn is gaining a lot of steam with them. I'd have to look at what his numbers were, and he's also more of the receiving back for them. And so if the script is pass heavy,
I think it will be tonight.
I think you could see Keyshawn Vaughn. Let me look him up here real quick.
I mean, to me, I would play White versus the Bills. I don't know what I can trust in the Rams.
love White. Kasey, what college did you go to again? I forgot.
University of Arizona.
No, Arizona State. You're wrong again.
I wish we could string together a video of all the times that exact interaction had just happened.
Greg, can you do that? Can you do a video?
Yes, get on that, Greg. Thank you.
The Arizona State references.
Greg is our producer.
And all the drugs and all the drug references I make during the show. That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, a couple more
Are we
questions.
on the air? Are
We're still live.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I didn't know.
I hate to
Okay,
break it to you.
Thank you.
So I had asked you if Jordan Addison is kind of here to stay. I want to ask the same about Josh Downs. I don't.
Yes.
I'm not as excited about Josh Downs as I am about Jordan Addison, but I think Josh Downs is probably here to stay. He's not getting quite as many receptions yet, but Gardner Minshew is just going to be throwing the ball out. Ross, do you agree? Case says yes to Josh Downs being here for good.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather have Josh Downs. Yeah, I think he's the number one receiver in Baltimore, in Indianapolis. I mean, this guy, I don't like Pittman at all. I would not get any stock of Pittman during the year. I don't trust him at all, even though he went to USC. I don't care.
Pittman has a line.
Not reliable.
And he has a line from last week that just scares me. Two receptions for 83 yards. People see the 83 yards and a touchdown, but 2 receptions.
I mean, Josh Downs, his last 2 years in college, he caught 1,300 yards and over 1,000 yards, 101 receptions and 94 receptions. This guy has always been an alpha type of wide receiver, and he's proven it in Indianapolis. He just is a guy who knows how to get open. He's not huge. He's like 5'10" or 5'9". So he's more of a slot guy, but we've seen what the Wes Welkers and of the world can do out of the slot, or Amon-Ra St. Brown is the same kind of wide receiver.
Christian Kirk.
You have to remember, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 3rd round pick.
And remember, his dad was Hugh Downs of Nightline. Remember that, guys?
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
I just made that. I made that up.
I did know that. I did know that. Let's wrap up on this, guys. I'm just curious. I have a lot of stakes in Pittsburgh wide receiver George Pickens. Do we think he has arrived? And we'll wrap up on this.
My trouble is Kenny Pickett before saying he's arrived, because George Pickens is not the catch a short ball and create after the catch kind of wide receiver. He's more of that's Deontay Johnson's job. He's more of the sideline contested catch and take it to the house. I think he's arrived in terms of his talent. Deontay Johnson didn't practice today. That worries me. They said he re-aggravated his hamstring injury. Yeah. I think Pickens is too boom or bust. But when Deontay Johnson is there, the safeties can't roll coverage.
But to me, Pickens is the kind of player that you can get value on right now because people just don't know.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with you. I love him. I'm a big fan of him, and I think he's great because he's great on contested catches. But I don't know if I would rather have the other two guys because they're more create their own space and then turn a play.
No, I understand that.
It's the system, and if he played anywhere else, I would love him more. But it's just that Pittsburgh Steeler mentality of hand the ball off first 2 plays of the game. And 3rd down we pass.
Yeah, the problem is they're a play action team.
Yeah,
and Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren have not allowed them to play action.
No,
yeah, I just think sometimes you can get value on a player like Pickens, or this is a different type of value, or Hollywood Brown playing on a bad team. Just look at the numbers if they're putting it up.
I would love to have Pickens as my wide receiver 3. Like, I think he's a very, very high-end wide receiver 3. I don't think he's quite crashed into wide receiver 2, which is where you see Downs and Addison right now.
Right. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up for today. We will be here the same time next week. That is Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Kasey and Ross do a waiver wire show every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. They do a great job with that. Tune in. And we will look forward to seeing you next week.
Really quick, suicide pool. Who are you taking? Go.
I've got Detroit.
I've got Detroit.
What do you have, Ross?
I got Detroit.
Oh, my God. It's so
only problem is they play Monday, and I hate waiting till Monday. But there you go. Let everybody have a good weekend.
All right, guys. It is great seeing you all. We look forward to seeing you next